So the 4 factors of production were land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So the easiest way to remember capitalism is capital is in the word. Capital is a factor of production. So if you remember the factors of production, capital is in the word capitalism. So the factors of production, those land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, are owned by individuals, compared to with a command economy where they're all owned by the government, or socialism where they're mostly owned by the government. So with the idea of capitalism, market economies oftentimes have what they call a laissez-faire approach to the economy, which is basically saying hands-off government. What does that mean? Well, in a pure market system, and I emphasize pure market, you will not have government intervention. You will not have the government coming in and giving people, for example, unemployment, where they pay people because they're unemployed. You won't have that. You will not have, in a pure market system, a government telling businesses that these are the regulations that you need to follow in making sure that your product is safe, or that you're not polluting the air. Those kinds of things do not happen in a pure market system. Okay? In a pure market system, it is completely laissez-faire. It's going to be completely hands-off, where the government pretty much lets businesses decide what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and who they're going to do it for, without the government intervening at all. Now, I know you're thinking right now, wait a minute. In our types of economic systems chart, Mrs. Stout asked me to list examples of market economies, and I wrote down the United States. Well, we have what we call a market-based economy. It is not a pure market system. Matter of fact, there isn't really any country left in the world that has a pure market system, because there are problems with that. Okay? And we'll talk about why that is, but I want you to understand is that no country, we are not a pure market system, because we don't have laissez-faire. All right, going on. Another key feature of a market economy is voluntary exchange, a belief that the benefits outweigh the cost of trade. So you go into a trade voluntarily, obviously of your own free will, and you believe that this trade will benefit you more than the cost of the trade. Okay, and I'll give you a for instance. For instance, if I go and I decide I'm going to go buy a new car, okay? I go to the car dealership and I am voluntarily at the car dealership. They don't go and come take me out of my house and say, you must go buy a new car, okay? I am voluntarily there. I am voluntarily deciding I want to buy a new car. So I go pick out the car that I want, okay? And I sign the paperwork, and if I have the cash, I will fork over the money. Or maybe I sign up for a loan, okay? But in that instance, I believe that the car is going to benefit me more than the money that I am exchanging, I'm giving them for it, okay? So I believe that the car is benefiting more than the cost of that money that I am handing over, okay? So that would be a voluntary exchange. Okay, so with that idea, each person in the exchange is profiting, okay? And most of the time people think of profit as the monetary amount. So for example, in my example, the car dealership, what do they get out of it? Okay, well obviously they get my money, okay? And that's gonna be their profit. But at the same point in time, the profit is a gain from a transaction. So do I gain from that transaction? Yes, okay? I gain from that transaction because obviously I got a car. Okay, so profit can be applied on both sides. So, you know, in this instance, we're not talking about profit as just merely talking about the actual cash. Okay, we're not talking about just the cash. We're talking about what does each party get out of it. Okay, so time for pictures. All right, so private property rights. I found this lovely little sign. It says, notice, private property. If you can read this, you are within range, and it has a lovely rifle scope there. That goes into the whole issue of that whole laissez-faire. Okay, hands-off government. Can I do whatever I want with whatever, well, with all my property? So theoretically, if somebody's trespassing on my property, my land, where my house is, can I shoot them? You see signs about that, and people talk about it all the time. Legality issue, yeah, that's a gray area, especially in the U.S., okay? We don't have laissez-faire, okay? But it doesn't give you, they do have quite a bit of leeway with your private property. Okay, capitalism. So here are 20th century factors of production, some land, capital, and labor. For whatever reason, they don't have entrepreneur on there. Oh, I love this. Voluntary exchange. So that whole idea that it has to be voluntary and that you have to go into a particular exchange willingly. Well, what about eminent domain? Do you guys know what an eminent domain is? Probably, possibly not. Eminent domain is the idea that the government can take or seize your property, and I think I mentioned this in chapter 1 briefly. They can seize your property for public use. Okay, so they may, in this cartoon, this guy is trying to stop this big, huge steamroller here that's trying to flatten his house, but some things are not voluntary. Okay, some things, and this goes back to that whole idea of in the United States, we do not have laissez-faire because there are some things that are not voluntary. You are forced, okay, to bend to the government's will in that case. All right. Lastly, profit, another example of voluntary exchange. If I go to Best Buy to go buy a new TV, okay, so here's my new TV, doesn't it look wonderful? And here's my sackload of cash that I go to Best Buy with to go buy my new TV. Obviously, I'm going there with my own free will, okay? My profit is that I get a brand new TV, okay? The Best Buy's profit is going to be they get a boatload of cash, okay? We both benefit from this exchange. Okay, last slide, I promise. Oop, I forgot to make that red again. I'll have to fix that. Okay, competition. Competition should be also in bold, in red. That is another key feature of a market economy. Competition is the struggle between producers to attract consumers. So there's a variety of things that producers could do to attract consumers. They could, for example, improve their product. Obviously, that will make draw your attention. Okay, they'll make you want to go and buy a particular producer's product over another's. Or they could go and change the price. They could lower the price. That'll draw your attention. Unfortunately, there are also superficial ways to draw your attention with new packaging where, oh, all of a sudden, you know, the packaging used to be blue, now it's green, and now we're getting into this whole marketing concept. But the idea is that I am competing with the other producers of my product to try and get your attention, trying to get your dollars. Now, with that said, we also have what we call consumer sovereignty. In a market economy, consumers rule, okay? Consumers rule, and consumer sovereignty is the idea that the consumer is the one that controls what is actually produced. Okay, now you're thinking, wait a minute. Don't producers decide what they're actually going to make? Well, kind of. Okay, from the standpoint of, yeah, I'm a producer, I'm going to put out there something that I think will be successful and that people will buy, right? So maybe I will make something, though, and doesn't go over very well. I don't know if you remember, but at one point in time, Pepsi actually made a clear Pepsi. Okay, it's like one of those illusion things where you drink it, it looks like Sprite or 7-Up or Sierra Mist. Okay, it's clear, but you drink it and it tastes like Pepsi. Okay, so Pepsi puts it out there. Guess what? People didn't like it. People didn't buy it. Okay, so what did Pepsi do? Do you see it on the shelves anymore? No. They stopped making it. Okay, this is illustrating that the consumers can rule the market. They control what is actually produced. You put something out there, it's a terrible idea. Okay, then people are going to say, no, they're not going to buy it, and it's going to end up going the way of the broccoli flavored toothpaste. Okay, so consumers rule the market. All right, last characteristic of a market economy is specialization. Specialization in a market economy is when people focus on doing what they do best. So they will figure out, what is it that I like to do? And this is part of the process that, you go through in college and even in high school and to begin with, and out of school, trying to figure out, what is it that I do well and what do I like to do well? And that determines what your job is. Okay, and that makes a difference compared to, for example, in a command economy where they just point to somebody and say, okay, you're a farmer. You over here, you're going to work in a factory. You over here, you're going to work for the government. You're going to do some sort of service industry. That they don't take into account what the skills and abilities of each individual person is. In a market economy, since you have that free will and you have that choice, there is much more specialization. Okay, so the reason that's helpful is because then when you specialize and you realize, hey, you know what? I am really good at explaining economics to high school students. Awesome! I should be an econ teacher. Great! That means that you get more stuff done. Okay, you're going to actually be more productive if you're actually doing something that you're good at and that you enjoy. Okay. So there's my picture for competition. They're struggling over the consumer's dollar. Okay, here's my lovely consumer sovereignty. I think this is funny because consumer tastes also change. So on the left, we have a then picture. Okay, so we have this big, huge SUV next to this teeny, tiny little hybrid car. And the big, huge SUV is laughing at the teeny, tiny hybrid car saying, ha, you look ridiculous. Okay. Now, however, on the right side, big, huge SUV, tiny car, hybrid car, and the tiny hybrid car is like, ha ha, look who's laughing now. Due to gas prices, those consumer sovereignty, that's going to change with the times, and you got to roll with the punches as a producer. And if you don't keep up, your company is going to go under real fast. And then here is my lovely specialization example. Specialization doesn't only occur within a country, but it happens with countries as a whole. So for example, I found this picture, and obviously it was a student that drew it, but I thought it was kind of cute. You have the United States that maybe would make potatoes, okay, and China that makes rice, and India that makes a pepper, okay. Because they specialize, they can produce more as a country. So they specialize there, their whole little product. Well, then how the heck does the United States get rice and peppers if they didn't make them? They trade. So because we have specialization, we can concentrate on what we're good at, and we can make a whole lot of it. And then when we need something else, we can go trade. Go ahead and trade. So those are those five key features of a market economy. I also talked about socialism and communism under command economy, and a little bit about traditional. Now, what you are going to do next is you guys are going to have to take this information of the information from your chart and the information I just gave you in notes, and you're going to have to answer some discussion questions as a group, okay? So that's kind of the process where you guys are at. We will talk when I come back and make sure that everybody is okay with the notes and if there's any questions that you may have. But otherwise, I will see you on Friday for those classes I see on Friday, and if not, I will see you on Monday. So have a good weekend, and I will see you then. Bye.